Hey guys, welcome to Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Smitha. You're going to hear a new segment in Journey Podcast as Coach It Forward. Hope you guys enjoy. Hello everybody, I have Dan Dean with me today. He is an expert relationship coach. He helps in this field since 2010 and started his own online coaching business this year. He helps couples transform their marriage from conflicted to connected by giving them tools to improve their communications and get onto the same page together. Thank you for being here, Dan, and welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you. And please start telling us, is there any background story for you to start this kind of coaching just a year back, though you are in this field for about 10 years, but
Yeah,
you started this coaching now. Why is that now?
Yeah, just like you said, I've been in the field since 2010. Initially, I went to school to study psychology, so it's very broad, and then I kind of narrowed it down, going into the helping field of counseling. I enjoy meeting with people one-on-one, talking about what's on their mind, what's of concern to them, and helping them to reach goals or to solve issues. And as I started in 2010 in the counseling therapy field, I found that I really enjoy working with couples. I had a very close, strong knit family growing up. My parents had a very close, healthy relationship. So that was a great model for me. And it really became a passion and interest for me when I got into the counseling field. So as I gained more experience in the counseling field, I started in 2018 as a marriage and family therapist. Like when I graduated with my master's degree in marriage and family therapy, I started working with couples more and really enjoy just meeting one-on-one with them, with the couple, and helping to help the couple to feel closer again to each other, strengthen that bond, strengthen that attachment between them both. A lot of times couples can feel themselves drifting or distancing very slowly. And what I do as a therapist and now as a coach, I help to help couples to strengthen that attachment and get closer together, just emotionally, mentally, and physically. This year in 2021, I really branched out on my own from being a marriage and family therapist in a practice to having my own online business where I can have a farther reach and then meets with more people rather than as a therapist seeing couples just in my little hometown. As a coach, I can see anyone anywhere essentially. And so I've been really enjoying being a coach and not focus so much on the clinical end of doing therapy, but I can more so focus directly on a specific issue or problem with couples to help them just to feel more emotionally, mentally closer to each other.
That's very interesting. When you said that you were having that psychology degree and counseling therapy, you started it that way. And you got interested in couples, though you never saw, you mentioned that your parents also have a very successful marriage, though you never saw in your childhood or around you that couples are having these kind of problems. Why did this thought came in for you to help couples in specific?
When I was starting my career in the counseling field, I would see a lot of different types of people. Kids, younger adults, older adults. I would see families or couples. And as a counselor, you see whoever comes through your door. And when I would see couples or meet with couples, or even going through graduate school and working with couples and learning about couples therapy, that just really sparked with me. That just really became a deep interest and passion for me. And I think probably the foundation of that is growing up with my parents and seeing how close they were and seeing that they're imperfect as well. They would get into fights. I would see how they would resolve issues together or how they would disagree or argue, because every couple has disagreements or arguments, but can you do that well together? So I'd see couples from 2010 up until 2018 until I decided to do this fully as my specific niche. I would see how couples would kind of distance from each other, disconnect from each other, and then what happened from the disconnection back to being connected again. And that was an incredible transformation that I saw. So as I practiced more of it, I got more exposure to it. I dove all in to only seeing couples.
So in your introduction, when I read something like you give them tools to help themselves. What kind of a tools are they?
Yeah, these are different tools to mentally connect with each other or emotionally connect. Sometimes two spouses are not on the same page with each other. They might try to connect or try to get on the same page, but they keep missing each other. And so as a result, people can get confused or frustrated, and it can cause more distancing. So some tools that I do or work with couples are giving them little communication tools to get back on the same page with each other. So one of them might be what I hear you saying is blank, and then you fill in the blank of what you hear your spouse saying. And then your spouse can clarify and say, yes, that's what I mean, or no, what I actually mean is this. And so when you're on the same page with each other mentally, you're able to have just more clearer understanding or comprehension and clarity. Just through what you're saying in conversation with each other. So that's how you mentally get on the same page. As far as emotionally getting on the same page, couples need to sympathize and empathize with each other, because sometimes my wife might not know what I'm going through emotionally or vice versa. So we really need to be very transparent and clear with each other about what our emotional experience is. So if I say, when you said this, I felt this, that helps my spouse to know what I'm going through emotionally right now. And then she can feel with me or have that empathy. And that's something that I've done with couples for a long time too. When you build understanding, build empathy, it helps strengthen that connection, and as a result, resolve issues or prevent future issues from happening as well.
Being a coach or working in this industry for like more than a decade now, these days
Yes.
divorce is becoming like a normal thing. Everybody, I mean, even the slightest disturbance between them, they're just straight going for the divorce. Being in this field, you might have seen like different varieties of problems that they're coming in. What is the most often or like the common thing that you found and it is very easy to solve?
Something that I hear a lot from couples as they come in, they say, we're having communication issues. We're not on the same page. He doesn't get me. She doesn't get me. I'm saying the same thing over and over, and she's not getting it. He's not getting it. And that's probably the most common phrase or questions that I get that comes in when they first come in the door, either for therapy or for coaching. And so we really dive in and zoom in on what's going on between them. What's the interactions? What causes the escalation or the arguments in the first place? And when there's a first kind of activating event, what gets me upset? What gets him or her upset? And how do we start this escalation of argument? So we really dive in and zoom in on that. What's happening between you right now? When he said that, what happened to you just now? And we kind of go back and forth, kind of play by play, and that helps them understand their interactions with each other, how they affect one another. And then through coaching or through coaching, we remove that old way of interaction and we replace it with a new way of interaction.
Sometimes you might have a scenario like though you're trying to help them, they don't want to get together.
Mhm.
Are there any such scenarios that you felt like, yes, though we are trying our part, they are not really like understanding that they don't want to be with each other or whatever it is, definitely going to be a diverse kind of situation. Was there any such scenarios, example for you that you have seen in your life? And what do you think that it is failing in their part that they are not able
Mhm.
to work it out with each other?
Yeah, it has happened where I've seen a couple that's come in where one spouse kind of has a foot out the door, so to speak. They're starting to lean out of the marriage, and the other spouse is uh, really leaning in, really wanting to save the marriage or salvage the marriage. And I've seen both scenarios where the spouse is saying, I see your efforts here. I see you're wanting to work on things between us, and I'm willing to give it a try. And I've seen the opposites where one person's leaning out and then the other person's trying to save the marriage. And it's come to a place where it's gone too far if there's been emotional, physical, or mental abuse in the relationship, if there's been affairs that have happened and you can't return from that, or if there's constant like addictions, if the person won't stop using, then that leads to divorce as well. So I've seen both scenarios where if both spouses are wanting to put the work in and are being committed to the relationship, then it can be salvaged and restored and healed. But I've also seen where both spouses, through therapy with me, they've come to the decision together, like we're too far gone, too far past, A, B, and C has happened for too long, and we're both deciding and agreeing together to move towards divorce.
Sometimes though they have one leg out and they wanted to go out, but
Mm-hmm.
as you said, like the other spouse is holding it on. If the intentions of holding it on is not really good, and if you understand that the other person, though they are holding it, the intention behind holding is not the good thing that they are holding. If you realize it, how would you approach that kind of a scenario?
If I'm in a scenario with a couple where one's leaning in, one's leaning out, there are specific questions that I ask for to each couple. I ask specific questions to the leaning in spouse and saying, why are you wanting to save this marriage? Can you understand why your spouse is wanting to leave? What do you think your spouse is needing from you right now? To the leaning out spouse, I may ask, like, what puts divorce on the table for you? If they have children, I might ask, do your children have any influence on the decision to divorce? Because sometimes parents may want to stay together to keep the family together, or to work out the relationship for the sake of the marriage and the family with their children too. There's some challenging questions such as, what is your certainty that your spouse can't change? Because if they're feeling like their spouse is, they're divorcing their spouse because of what they've done, do they have 100% certainty that their spouse can't change, or do they feel that their spouse can change for the sake of restoring the marriage? So in a situation like that, I go through a lot of different specific questions for each spouse to help them decide together with confidence and clarity about the direction of their relationship.
When you said you ask them about the children involvement in the decision, have
Mhm.
you ever got a chance, or like have you ever dealt with kids directly, asking them like what is happening to them when their parents are having this kind of, it might not be a fight as such in front of their
Mhm.
faces, but they do understand something is going on between their parents, just in case if that is happening. Have you ever dealt with kids directly, asking them like what do they think about what's happening?
I haven't dealt with the children directly. When I'm meeting with a couple for the purpose of deciding whether to stay together or get divorced, it's with the couple only. It hasn't been in a family therapy sense. I've met with families in the past, and I've had like kind of one-on-one times with the kids, and kind of get a sense from them, like how are you feeling about what's happening in your home? How are you feeling about your parents' relationship together? So I very much think that getting the children's opinions or feelings about their parents' relationship is important. But for your question, I have not asked any children about how they're feeling about their parents possibly getting divorced.
Just in case, when you're talking to the parents and you understood that parents might have an abusive nature talking to each other, as you were mentioning, it might be physical abuse as well, mentally, verbally, whatever. When you understand it is going far beyond where you can pitch in and repair their relationship, and you understand they do have kids, what are you actually obligated to help the kids to come out of that kind of a situation? Though these two are trying to patch up their marriage, but they're still having these kind of fights or whatever, these emotional traumas going on in front of the kids. How do
Mhm.
you handle that to help the kids, at least in that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very specific question to ask to the couple. about what influence the kids have on their decision to divorce or not. If there is like active abuse like happening in the home with the children around, that goes kind of to a deeper level of getting like Department of Children and Families involved. If there's abuse like in or violence in front of the kids, that type of situation I have not had any exposure to, thankfully. But if parents are admitting to me, yes, there is domestic violence or physical violence in the home in front of the children, then it goes to that level of contacting or breaking confidentiality and contacting Department of Children and Families.
What is your, I mean, not is though, you were working with these people past 10 years. What do you think is the toughest case that you have ever dealt with?
The toughest case we're dealt with, as far as with couples?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I got a couple of couples in mind to me, like, because there was one couple where it was basically one session where and this is the big part about therapy or about coaching, is that for it to be successful, both spouses need to be committed to wanting to work on their relationship and to strengthen the relationship again. And so one couple came in where the wife is really wanting to work on the relationship. Husband's very mad, very angry. Even during my initial intake assessment, he would get really angry by what she was saying. He would stand up and like kind of pace around the office really angrily. He's saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. And it was just the initial intake. I'm just getting to know them and asking questions. And so he had a lot of just anger management issues. So for that type of a case, I referred him to an individual therapist to do individual therapy to work on anger for himself. And sometimes that happens in couples therapy where there's a deeper issue going on for one of the spouses that they need to resolve first before coming back for couples coaching. Sometimes that individual issue is kind of getting in the way of the progress of the couples coaching. And I've seen that in other couples too, that I've seen where there's a deeper issue going on for one of the spouses that they need to go get taken care of first before coming back for couples work. And it was a one session. We barely made it to the end of the session, but it was one session, and then I referred him to a individual therapist.
Have you ever needed therapy? I mean, listening to all these stories, coaching them, or taking their painful journeys into your mind and how to work with them. Have you ever needed therapy, or how do you cope with that? Do they have any impacts on your relationships day to day?
Yeah, the practice that I was in, it was a group practice. So we would meet with each other, kind of collaborate with each other, or give each other kind of encouragement or tips or advice. I'm a relationship coach now, so I collaborate with other coaches, and we kind of bounce ideas off of each other or help one another. But having my own kind of personal network, or like my own family, my own friends, confiding in my wife as well for emotional and mental support, that helps me kind of keep me refueled or keep my cup full, so to speak, so I can continue doing the work that I need to do. So I think it's very important to have great people around you that have similar thought process that you do, or doing similar work that you're doing. And because we're all human, we're all imperfect, we all need to fill our cups sometimes. So yeah, I think it's very important.
Have you ever dealt with any couple where one person is actually a friend of you, like closer to you, or a relative, something like that, and you are dealing with them? Were you ever biased with what they are talking when they come to your therapy, because you already know one person and you know their story from their end? So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a ethical issue. So thankfully, I've never met with close family or friends, I wouldn't agree to meet with anyone that I know outside of the coaching office or the therapy office. Just ethically, I wouldn't be able to do that because of the therapist client relationship, and no coach or therapist should do that either.
Oh, okay. Even if the other person is insisting, like, yeah, we need help, and you
Hmm.
being the person, why don't you help us? Even if that is like a friendly request or something, you are not going to have an actual therapy session. Instead, you can talk to them as a normal person, as a known person.
Oh, I see. I see. Um, I will. I've had people come to me, I don't know, friends or family, come to me if they're distressed about something or just wanting a listening ear, so to speak, and I'll be there for them because I'll be encouraging and sympathetic and empathetic. I'm not going to go full into the therapy with them, but I'll be there for them. I'll listen to them if they want any kind of advice. I'll give that just like as a friend, but I'm not fully using my clinical or coaching skills
Wow.
with them, because that's a service that I provide. That's, I mean, I get compensated for, but someone who trusts me or wants to confide in me, I very happy to meet with them and talk with them.
If somebody is browsing through, they really want to help, they really want help from you or like from anybody, like a therapist, they are browsing through, your name pops up with 10 other people. If they just talk to you to understand, like, why do they need to pick you? What is your specialization compared to the other 10 people that are available in the market? Though they
Yeah.
might be a little cheaper, what would you say?
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm a relationship coach. I'm trained in something called emotionally focused therapy, where I really focus in on the emotional connection, the mental connection between the spouses. Like I said, I kind of see what's going on, what the interaction is between the couple, find out what's not working, remove the old ways of interaction, and replace it with a new way of interaction. So really dive in to the emotional and mental needs of each spouse. Um, a lot of times when couples come in to see me, they're pretty escalated, they're pretty upset. So in the beginning, we work to de-escalate the couple and get them to a calm and kinder place where they can really be open and vulnerable with each other to express their fears to each other, what their needs are, their longings are, and it's really emotionally focused. It goes into what our deep attachment needs are. We learned those when we were growing up as kids. We learned with our parents or our guardians who raised us. We learned how to trust somebody. We learned how we can go to somebody if we're needing them. And the same applies when we get married. We want to know, I want to be able to go to you when I need you, and I want you to feel safe enough to come to me when you need to come to me. So it goes in this type of coaching goes on a very deep level as far as emotional and mental needs, getting on the same page with each other in communication, building understanding and empathy. So it really, it helps resolve like individual issues and concerns, as well as the relationship concerns. And it brings the couple to a place where the relationship can heal itself. If you start to feel kind of rocky again and the relationship is starting to feel kind of distant, with this coaching that I go through with them, the relationship is then able to heal itself or reconnect if they're starting to feel kind of that distancing again.
Let's say, for example, in a scenario that you were treating couple, and after a couple of sessions, you understood they both are really good with each other if there are no external factors that are influencing them. Most of the times, a couple will always have the external factors that could be like relatives, friends, or even their own parents.
Mm.
For friends, you can easily say, like, yeah, man, stay out of them, or like, yeah, whatever that message is, to really keep them out, not to get influenced. But if it is relatives also, we can say, like, yeah, keep some distance, don't meet them often. But if it is parents who are living with them, that cannot be done really well, because you can't ask them, like, yeah, leave your parent and walk out to make your relationship work. So for such kind of people or such kind of a scenarios, what would be your suggestion to deal with the parents and the spouses together?
If you're saying like if the parents are really wanting to keep the spouses close by or not wanting them to leave.
If the parents are the reason why couples are fighting.
Oh, like if the parents are the reason why. Yeah, this is something as adults, as responsible married couple together, you both need to resolve together. How are we going to deal with my parents, with your parents? How are we going to draw boundaries together with our relationship with my parents, the relationship with your parents? This is something that needs to be decided together, and then the husband having that open conversation with his parents, and then the wife having the conversation with her parents as well. Now that we have left the home and moved out, we're a married couple together, we're creating our lives together. Of course, this goes by every culture is different in how they approach this or how they deal with it. But as a married couple, you need to make that first foundation decision together. How much are we going to be involved with my parents, with your parents? Come with that decision together, and then go from there.
Success mean?
Success is really achieving over and over again your goals, continually setting goals and achieving them, and doing so with kind of a heart of gratitude and thankfulness, being thankful, being grateful when I set a goal and I achieve a goal, and then continuing to grow. Where we don't hit a ceiling and then stop or be stagnant, where we're continually learning and growing. And in any way, whatever type of goal that you want to set. And with couples that I help with them, they're always wanting to grow in some way, like seeing where they are now as a couple and where they're wanting to be, and then continually working towards that goal. So there's the individual success, but also the couple's success as well.
When you're talking about the goals, what is your next goal closer, and what is your bigger goal going into?
For me?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wanting to expand my business. Like I said, I started this year, and I love the idea of meeting anyone from anywhere. Like I live in Florida on the East Coast. I can see someone in Arizona, in California, in Michigan, wherever. I could potentially see someone in the UK or Asia. So I love the idea of being able to help anyone, anywhere. I want to be known as a relationship coach, relationship expert. If it's not just through meeting online like this, I would love to go and do like speaking events, speaking engagements, travel all over the world. My family and I love to travel anyway, so if I could travel with my family and do like speaking events, I'd love to do that. Want to write books on relationships and marriages and being a good husband. As a husband myself, I want to practice what I preach, but just try to get out in any way, helping relationships and strengthening relationships within couples. Because we know in the US, the divorce rate is above 50%. So if I can help bring down that percentage a little bit, I think that's definitely a life goal of mine.
Awesome. That's really awesome. I have heard people that are divorced are singles that are couple therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So is it really possible for you, being as a single or a divorcee, to actually teach the couple?
If someone is divorced?
Yes, because when they were talking, I heard them telling like, yeah, people laugh at us when we say like, yeah, we are relationship coach, because we ourselves were not able to keep our own relationship.
Oh. Yeah, and if someone knows the skills, if they have the training, if they've been to school for relationship counseling or relationship therapy, if they have the credentials or the knowledge to do the service, certainly they would be qualified for that, and that can apply for a lot of other professions as well. But everyone's story is different. Everyone's life situation is different. But if you love a profession, if you have the skills or the validity, the reliability to give that skill or provide that service, that's a passion of yours, definitely to say to go for it.
Okay, thank you for tuning in, and you can find me on all the socials at Smitha Gunturi and the show notes for any resources mentioned. See you next week. Take care.